Greetings, this is Flares. Okay, right now I'm going over Miryam, Miryam's next rerun. So I pre-recorded gameplay a month ago. And I will include the gameplay of Miryam at the end of the video. It's 7 minutes long. If you want to see how she works in-game, I just ran over her and explained her abilities. So I'm going to do it in an overview now, a couple of hours before she launches. So this is her in my spreadsheet. I updated my spreadsheet. This is in limited in-depth Awaker overview. Miryam is a A-tier unit. I haven't put it in here. It didn't load over, but I'm going to copy that now. Copy. Paste. She's A-tier on the tier list as a support. Again, she would be S-tier, but she got power crap. My thing is, I will never put too many units in S-tier. Otherwise, if S-tier is meta-defining. If another unit releases as an S-tier support, I would take the weakest support from here and pull it down to A tier. A tier has no limit. S tier means like they're completely broken, meta-defining, meta-shifting. She was meta-defining, meta-shifting, but everyone can agree that every one of these supports are better than Miryam. But if it was unlimited, Miryam would be the next strongest support unit. Now, what she does, she is the strongest blue supporter. She's the strongest blue support in the game. She's actually one of the only blue supporters in the game that does what she does. Now, what you want of her, since everyone wants to get me down the opposite, sorry for dragging it on, you want her E2 if you want to pull for her, or overexalt. Those are her breakpoints. E2 is mandatory to play her in most cases. So this is the basic translations because, you know, with the AI and ChatGPT, they like to change the translation. So in my guides and in my reviews, I always refer to skill 1 and skill 2. Skill 2 refers to the second skill at the very end. Skill 1 refers to this. Because again, every patch, they change these names all the time, dude. All the time. So if I use Exalted Fire and Chosen, and next patch they change it to Exalted Fire and the Destined one, for example, then everyone's going to be confused. As you know, with the recent translation of Horla again, it's now Snarl mode. It's now, yeah, Snarl mode instead of anger. So yeah, all my old videos of Horla, if I say anger, I mean snarl. Snarl at them, dude. So yeah. So why her E2 is very important is it gets her skill 2 retain and prep 1. So meaning every turn, it gets cheaper, and it is retained, meaning it's preserved in hand. Again, this is in relation to the translations. Actually, I'm just going to show you why I use skill 2, about the frequent translation problems of this game. So this is go. So remember that I did that months ago. I did this guide months ago. So all that retained is prepared 1 and retained. But let's go into the card. Retained and prepared. Yeah. So they did these two changes because in some translations, prepare is also setup. So one of the other units is also setup. So they're probably going to change it to setup next if they're going with it, because some of the other cards have setup. Setup is prepare. So keeping that in mind. So that's why you want her E2. Getting this cheaper makes her a really good alienist bot. Now, the original release, Miryam, she does everything. She gives technical damage, gives strength, give things. So her entire mechanic is she creates these consecration cards. The community calls them yellow cards and blue cards, or purple cards, depending on what color you perceive that as. So every time she exalts, and at the start of the battle, you get a yellow card you will see in the gameplay video. Again, the gameplay video I pre-recorded. So I will go over that, but I'm going to go over it current flares. Past flares will talk to you. Past flares and current flares are two different people with the both same amount of ultra hate inside of our blood. So when I'm done with this, you're going to be talking to past flares. Flares from 1 month ago when I recorded that. So Kai, in my spreadsheet, is the Miryam expert. He's a CN community. He specialized in tentacle comps. Now, what comps does Miryam fit in as a support units? Almost every comp. Almost every comp. Because she does poison and she gives alien miss battery. And she does buffs. So, but she doesn't buff strength as hard as thighs. So her mechanic is whenever you create consecration cards, up to 3, you can fill your hand with them. If they're yellow, you can eat one of them to play her and then play her cards and to get the extra effect. So see this? Plus 4, 9, 18. If you have 1 yellow card, it gives 4. If you have 2, it gives 9. If you have 3, it gives 18. Same with this, the Alien Mist battery. So if you have 3 yellow cards, this will give you 115 Alien Mist, which is more than what Horla gives you, which is more than what, Winkle gives you, but you have to build up consecration cards, meaning yellow cards. You start with 1, every time you exalt, you get another 1. Now, I'm talking from a free-to-play perspective right now. I'll go into the whale Miryam, which is a lot stronger. Remember, this game is very dupe heavy. I do not agree with it, but Overexalt Miryam, very strong. But E2 Miryam is perfectly fine, perfectly viable, still A tier, still great unit. Now, I'm going to talk about her as an E2 unit. I will not talk what happens when you get her E3 and Overexalt, because most people will not pull for that, and I do not recommend you pull for that. I recommend you save your pulls for Dorazine or Tawil or some other units. But if you really like one aspect of her, pull for Overexalt. I will go into that why in a bit. Now, this is her unique rouse. This is the most powerful rouse in the entire game. In the entire game, there is no rouse as powerful as her rouse. Why? This is 3 different rouses. So you rouse 3 times. So when you rouse, or when you play this rouse, you get Iron End of Belief, which is a 6-cost rouse. When you play the 6-cost rouse, it becomes a 9-cost rouse. And every turn, the cost of this rouse, or all the rouses, is reduced by 3. So the first 2 rouse, every time you rouse, you choose Iron Resolve or whatever. Again, these will change every patch. These names will change every patch. So you either choose Strength up, Tentacle damage up, every turn, permanent buff. Or permanent 50 or 60 shields. Everyone chooses the Strength and whatever, because the shield is so low it doesn't matter. The next option is another option, which, again, past flares will go over it in-game. I'm not in-game, in battle right now, so I can't go over what that is. And you won't notice. So, also, it generates an extra tentacle and tentacle cap. So that's why she's very strong in tentacle-based teams. Not Aqua. Aqua is completely different. There's Blue Realm and there's Tentacles. She excels in a Murphy Tulu team because she creates more tentacles and increases her tentacle limit beyond what is viable. Now, I will go into whale territory. I will talk about her Overexalt and why it's good. It is the only Overexalt in the entire game that increases tentacle cap. Now, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Tentacle limit and tentacle count by 1. So, as you see in Kai's video, Kai is another CN content creator. You can have 30 plus tentacles if you play Miryam Overexalt. I don't think there's actually a tentacle cap, but we haven't found it because everyone dies by then, because she's a hard scaling unit. She creates tentacles every time she exalts, so you're not limited by how many tentacles you can have. Now, you can get up to 30, 40 tentacles. I know that. It just creates new roles. It gets insane. So, yeah. Theoretically, I think you can have hundreds of tentacles. Again, no one has tested it, because the boss usually dies by the time you got just by the tentacles hitting. So yeah, I guess you can do Chapter 9 boss, but again, that's a huge waste of time in my opinion. But if someone wants to do Chapter 9 boss and see if you can create like 1,000 tentacles, or if the game crashes, do it with Overexalt Miryam. But yeah, that's why her Overexalt is very strong. I disagree with the gameplay, but every Awaker has a unique Overexalt, unless they're complete trash, where their Overexalt doesn't do anything, which is good. If their Overexalt doesn't do anything, it makes you not want to pull for the Overexalt and saves your pulls. But a lot of the recent units follow in Miryam's path, where their Overexalt completely breaks the game. Her Overexalt sort of breaks the game by removing tentacle cap completely. But again, it's hard to fill up, so it doesn't really break the game, but it's very strong. It's the only exalt or ability that does that in the entire game, infinitely, because you're limited by how many tentacles you can have. Now, all disabilities, her strike, ritual is what eating the yellow cards is. It just increases damage on it. You don't care about this. You care about defense, because this is a flat strength decrease. Again, she's better than Clem, because we're going to look at this value. This is a level 5 out of 6. And Miryam's only level 60. Now let's look at Clem. Now let's look at dog shit fucking Clem. The most dog shit unit in the entire game. So here, she does the same thing. She steals strength, remove madness, and at E3, she also removes it. Now see? And it's not that high value. It's not that high value. Even G-Doll. G-Doll is very good. G-Doll is very good. Everyone sees it's good, but again, bigger. Her 2 cost only decreases their strength by 44. And this is an invested G-Doll. I invest a lot into G-Doll. She's level 70. And Miryam at level 60 with 3 rituals, her defense card decreases the enemy's strength a lot more by 78. So this means in bosses such as Chapter 9 Eyes or multi-hit bosses, this is very strong. For Pania, for example, if she hits you 100 times, that's 78 times 100 damage for destruction. Very good defense card. Again, it's not fully leveled, and this value gets higher the higher level, because it scales very well. It scales off 10% of her attack, and unlike dog shit units, her attack is decent. Look at her stats. 132 attack. Now let's look at Wanda, which 88. Now let's look at Horla, 96. Again, it's only a little bit less than Daff, and Daff's an actual attack unit. So more than Cassia. It's less than Erica, but Erica's a pretty decent unit. It's more than Winkle, and she's a support. It's more than fucking Tink, and it's a little bit less than Liz. Now that's compared to Ultra units, and her attack stat is actually decent. So she's an attack, awaker, and builds poison. Now another thing I want to talk about her, if you want to go with her in the poison route. So this has insane scaling. So this is pierce. So it pierces through invuln. So if you push a boss and it's phasing, you can use this card and it pierces through their invuln and it hurts them. Just like Tawil 6-Wing, this is just her 2 cost. Now, very few people build Miryam as a DPS, but it's possible to do One Punch Miryam. Now, Ernest, which is a CN content creator, has a video on One Punch Miryam. I could go over it, but I'm just going to do a brief overview because 90% of you watching the video will not go One Punch Miryam because you don't have the money, IRL money. You don't want to spend that much money in the game because it is a whale comp, but I'm going to tell you it exists. So you stack off crit, you stack up strength, you stack off strong damage, and you one punch with Miryam. So this one punch build that he did, Goliath Blade, everything, it can do 50 to 100,000 damage plus on the big hit or more. And it scales up in just one punch. That's why it's called One Punch. It does like 100,000 damage and it inflicts 100,000 poison. 100,000 poison. Right on the boss. Again, 99% of you will never hit this build unless you spend serious money on the game. So that build is completely useless for your thing, but it exists. If you're a whale and you want to see a One Punch Miryam, I will probably try to link it in the descriptions if I find it again. But again, it's a Sunday. I'm going out to eat. I'm just going to clip these 2 videos together. No editing. You know what I like to do. Because I am working on a interesting video because I know that some of you want me to rant. So I have a big rant video just for the fun of it called the 10 Commandments. It's very humorous. It does provide 10 basic tips, but I do in the usual Flair style, making it all biblical and maybe religious. Again, I will include a warning because in my rant video, I may shout. I may become a little bit unhinged. Just a little bit. Now, that goes over her poison ability. Another ability she has is her exalt changes depending on which tentacle form you're on. So it's blue, white, red. I'm going to use blue, white, red for everything. Because these tentacle names also changed. Surging Tides, Tranquil Sea, and Raging Waves. This has been changed. It will probably change again. So I refer to them by their color, because I don't think they're going to change the color. So if you're in blue stance, which is default stance, you get strength and tentacle damage. Decent amount. If you're in white stance, which is shield stance, everyone gets Alien Miss. If you're in red stance, it triggers 100% poison. Again, she's essential in Poison 24. You can use her in Tentacle. She fits in a lot of teams, is what I'm saying. You can build her in a Poison 24. You can build her in a Murphy Tulu Tentacle comp. Or you can build her in a, what's it called? In a fucking Alien Miss gen. You can use her as an Alien Miss battery just for Monchi's Sanga build that I did in my D-type video. So those are all the comps, and now let me go over her wheels and her covenants as a final thing before I clip the 2 videos. So this is my thing, so I'm going to unselect everything and select Miryam. So unequip, recommend. So this is her SIG wheel right here, crit damage. Again, you're not using her as a DPS, though the devs want you to. If you're doing one punch build, you get this plus 12. You put this on, you have your one punch build. But for a typical build, you put this and you put in calc or any other Alien Miss regen because you want to excel on her a lot. Or you make her an S-key bot, which is you put S-key wheels on her. So those are the 2 options. You either go Alien Miss or S-key wheel. Now you have a lot of Alien Miss and S-key wheels to choose from. As a new player, plus 12. But these are the only 2 I have plus 12. I don't have in calc yet. I will get it soon. I don't like spending a lot of money in this game. But for her covenant, depends on what type of role you want her to be. If you want her to be an Alien Miss, you use Further Metamorphosis. If you want her to be an S-key bot, you use this baby covenant. That went over my spreadsheet. If you want her to be a DPS and you want to play a one-punch Miryam, you use Steppenwolf. So these are the 3 covenants you want. So typical support Alien Miss Miryam, typical S-key bot Miryam, and DPS Miryam. So that's it for the video. I will piece the 2 together. I will work on the rant 10 commandments video. I'll see you guys later. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, share my guide, share the holy spreadsheets with your friends. And I'm going to pass it on to my good friend, Past Flares. I'm recording this early to showcase Miryam. Probably edited it out. So what Miryam does is you start with an Obsession card, which changes to a Sacrament card if you have a certain Enlighten. Recommended is E2, and then OE is the next start. So play this. Her entire thing is she's the best support of Blue Realm. She's A tier in my list. She's very good. She just gets Power Grip. So what this Sacrament does is all of her effects gets additional effect based on how many Sacraments you have in hand. So since we have 1 in hand, we only trigger the first effect each time. I'm just going to play this to showcase. Her wheel is B to A tier. It's only really good on her because it is 10 cap and 10 limit up at very start of battle. So use her as a chosen bot. She's very good for the Monchi D-Dive comp as well. Now, since this is a 1 card, so this card gets a plus 13 Alien Miss for having 1 Sacrament. So I'm going to feed this to 24 here. And then here's her special thing. Normally you would rouse 24 in this comp. I'm going to show you what Miryam does. This is a Miryam video. So her rouse is the most unique and the most powerful rouse in the game, depending on who you ask. Because you can play this three times. So every time you rouse her, you get tentacle limit and tentacle count plus 1. And the crit rate of Miryam's strike and exalted power increases by 100%. So you don't build crit rate in her. If you want to build her damage, get some crit damage on her. And it adds 1 Heretical Fate in hand. What Heretical Fate is this. So every time you play the rouse, she's the only awaker that does this. Every time you play her rouse, you get another rouse card back up to 2 other times. So this gets another tentacle limit count up, and gives her 50 elements again, and puts one End of Belief in hand, and gets an Iron Resolve or Relevant Devotion. So I'll show you what it does next turn, and what you want is you want her E2 at least to get this prep 3. It's a 6 cost right now, but every turn it reduces by 3, so next turn it'll be a 3 cost. Again, yeah, I am not playing seriously right now, so it's whatever. Also, her Exalt has a unique effect. That's why it's good on blue. So her Exalt is 3 Exalts in 1, which is another reason why good. So this is the thing that always happens in her base Exalt. So it adds 1 Sacrament card in hand and applies poison to everyone. So it adds one more of this. And depending on which tentacle stance you are, it gives you a different effect. So if you're in blue stance, which is why I am now, you get strength and tentacle damage plus 16. It's a nice amount. If you're in white stance, everyone gets 18 alien miss. If you're in raging waves, it triggers 114% of enemies' poison. So she's good with G-Doll for this reason. Sometimes I use it in blue stance, get some power, because I don't need to feed alien miss to everyone. Get some nice tentacle damage up. So, we can just see it. So you can play Sacraments 2 ways. So you can either just play it for the 10% heal of lost HP. It's very good. Every time you convert a Sacrament, you draw one less card, but you want a hand size for her. So this is the second stage of her Exalt. If you have enough alien miss, you can play all 3, but it's unlikely. So in this one, you get to choose whether you get... This is a permanent effect. This is why Miryam is very strong on long fights. Because you either get permanent 50% shield at the start of each turn. No one chooses this. It's very rare you're going to choose this. You're always going to choose this. So every turn you get nice scaling based on Miryam's level. So now that's some strength scaling we got. Now I can finally rouse my next unit, which is 24. Again, I'm not playing seriously because the boss should be dead by now if I'm playing seriously. I'm just trying to stall so I can use all of Miryam's effects. So I can apply 2 stack there, so both these transform into obsessions. So I'm going to draw 2 cards less. I'm only going to draw 3 cards. But plus 2 because of this. So we're going to draw 5 cards. So we're going to be 12 out of 13. Or it should be 12 out of 13. Yep, 12 out of 13. Remember to count, boys. Counting is important. The spell weakness. So this is the last stage, the most powerful stage. So tentacle limit and count plus 1. So more tentacles. See that? Shit ton of tentacles. That's what Miryam does. And let's just Exalt in blue stance. Get more tentacle damage and strength scaling. Now we have 3 Sacraments. We chill. Let me just use this to play some more cards. So she's mandatory on any tentacle team. Basically because of how many tentacles she helps you generate, especially with her rouse. So you're typically on player with either 24 or Tulu Murphy, or even Corpo. She is a very good tentacle support unit. So we can choose this. It doesn't matter. So her last effect is she generates a random card of this. The first effect will always be give an Awaker 25 ailments. The second effect can be one of 3 or 4 things. It's either going to be draw 2 cards, apply Vuln and Weakness, or give more alien miss, or gain a rift, or give them alien miss, etc. So, and you get this permanently the entire fight. You get one of these permanently every fight. So that's another reason why she's very good. Again, very good with G-Doll, very good on elements. That's triple. So with Miryam, you can Exalt frequently on everyone. So that's her general purpose. So see now, you get so many tentacles playing Miryam. And her Overexalt is a good pool as well. Because her Overexalt will get plus 1 tentacle and plus 1 tentacle cap every time you Overexalt if you get her plus 4. Again, it's not recommended. If you're tight on funds, E2 is just fine. E2 is perfectly usable. But her Overexalt is very strong. Remember, this game is very dupe heavy. Her Overexalt is very strong as well, like everyone's Overexalt. Because you get that plus 1 10 cap and plus 1 10. And that's the only unit that does that. Besides, I guess Corpo Overexalt. But Corpo Overexalt is just a recent change. And that's the end of this video. I'm just pre-recording it like a month before she reruns, so I can edit it in later. So flares out.